guys, we're starting this tutorial for the chrome housing or chrome taillights, clear taillights, whatever you want to call them, for the Mazdaspeed3. Here's the outer. I have not done the inners yet. This is just going to be an outer tutorial on how to cut these apart, where to cut, and how you'd make them look clear or chrome, whatever you want to call it. Here's the tools you're going to need. You're going to need some sort of primer. You're going to need a chrome or metallic finish spray paint, depending on what color you want to go with. It really doesn't matter. It's up to you. You're going to need a silicone caulk. It has to be 100% waterproof and also really good for being outside. You're going to need some painter's tape. You're going to need some a Dremel and some Dremel bits. You're going to need a sanding block. You may not need that, but make sure you do have one of these round bits for a Dremel, and a Phillips head screwdriver. And lastly, just some random piece of cardboard or something to paint on, unless you're, if you're doing it in your garage or if you're doing it outside, you don't want to paint the ground with this stuff. And also, I have like a white little paint marker or whatever, just so I can give you guys an outline of where to cut. You may not need that, but you may need it. It's really up to you guys. I don't know. So I'm gonna start off by removing these 4 Phillips heads. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have to remove any of these on the inside. At least I don't think for now, but these 4 gotta go. And then I'm gonna have to cut that piece off for this piece. You're gonna have to cut that because I don't know what the heck that is, but I don't have any tool to remove that screw or whatever that is, so I'll just chop it off like I did the other one. Now that I got these 4 screws out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I got those 4 out, I'm gonna go ahead and get this plastic piece off because it's in the way of where we need to cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off and then pull these 2 tabs right here, and then it'll just pop off. You don't really need this piece, but you can keep it. I kept mine on the other side. You could just silicone it back together or something. I don't really know what it's for, but yeah, gotta chop this off. It's that quick. You literally just slice through it. Oh yeah, can't really see. Yeah, you literally just slice through it. It's that fast. We got that piece off. Now you can get access to the inner side of the taillight, and it was just as easy as slicing through there. Now I'll give you guys the exact areas that you need to cut through. So this white line going all the way around, there's like a lip, kind of hard to see. There's like a lip that you follow, and that is like your entire housing where you're gonna need to cut. You're gonna need to cut through these little brackets. You might have to cut around these holes for the 4 screws that you took out. You're gonna cut all the way around following this white line. And then you're gonna cut in here. And if you start to see through it, you're gonna wanna cut until you can see and all the way through. And if you cut and you notice that you're cutting through this portion of the lens on the inside, for this specific area, everywhere else you won't. But for this specific area, if you cut through the lens, it's fine. If you have silicone and it's clear, you won't really even be able to notice it even close up. So yep, I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping this up. I don't think I'll record this portion because it takes forever. Yeah. So as you're cutting, make sure you're cutting through the black plastic, but you're not cutting too far to where you're cutting through the lens. Now, you may encounter times where you touch the lens, but it's not the actual inside of the lens. I'll see if I can show you. There's like a little lip that goes around the lens. You see how it's white right there? Kind of hard to see, but it's white right there, then it's dark, then it's white again. That's fine if you touch that. But don't touch the actual inside of the lens, like the clear portion. Don't cut that deep. You just want to cut through the black part into I'm trying to see. I'm gonna cut through the black part until you can kind of see through it. I can't really get my light up there. There we go. Once you can see through it, that's how you know you've gone far enough. You just keep following this line. A little bit of a mess up here when it comes to this inside part where we shave that part off. You want to cut close, as close as possible to this outside line, this part, but on the inside with this curve. Do not cut close to the inside, because if you cut close to the inside, you will start possibly hitting this chrome piece and that black piece right there, which you don't want to hit. You don't want to touch those. You want to really be cutting the clear part of the lens on the inside. Okay, but yep, just an update. Cut on the inside of this, well, the outside of this as far as you can. I'll show you when I'm finished. La di da di da di da di da di da di da. I gotta cut that, this white line, and then this white line going all the way through. So I pretty much finished cutting all the way around this thing. And you are gonna have to cut these brackets off. You are gonna have to cut this bolt hole with a slant. You're gonna have to cut through this one also with a slant and cut that bracket off. And like I said, you wanna go in between this. It's okay if you cut that part. It won't be visible once the taillight is on the car. You wanna make a cross section kinda and cut all the way through, all the way around this. But you don't wanna cut super close to this part of the housing. You will cut the inside out, and you don't want to do that. So you're going to cut all the way around. You're going to cut some more brackets off, more brackets. You're going to cut around that hole and all the way up here. I use a different tool to get around that edge, so it is kind of ugly, but it's okay. And just straight up going all the way around. Same thing with just using the Dremel. And now I should be able to just pop this off. And also, this is what it looks like on the inside when I said stay away from the inside because you will cut the chrome. You don't want to do that. Just follow that guideline right there in the center of that crease and you'll be fine. And with a little bit of prying, not much prying, the entire lens will come off. This might just fall off on the ground too. You're gonna want to keep that because you're gonna paint that silver. You're gonna go inside and you're gonna flip the housing this way. You're gonna take some sort of screwdriver, poke it through the hole here. You're gonna pop this red lens out. You just literally poke it through. Let me see if I can line it up. Yep, just like that. You just pop that out. And then this one, I think it was the same way. Yep, you just put a screwdriver in and pop that one out as well. Once you got those two parts popped out of the way, this housing is pretty much already chrome. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna tape up this red part. You're gonna paint this chrome. You're gonna take this big red part right here. You're gonna prime this, paint this chrome as well. Make sure you do a really good tape job. You don't have to sand this or anything. The sanding block over here is to clean up these edges. They may look super ugly. And then also make sure the inside of your housing has none of this plastic in it at all. You don't want any of this plastic staying in the housing because once you seal it, you'll be able to see these tiny little black specks or whatever inside. Same thing with the lens. Make sure you clean the lens off. See all that dust in there? You don't want that inside the lens. It'll make the entire job look hideous. So make sure you clean that out. Sand out as much as you can, as much as you need to make it look nice. All this like burnt up plastic. And yeah, I'll get back to you guys with the paint jobs. All right. Once you get the housing taped up, this little red part right here, you're gonna go ahead and take your metallic retard alert. All right, once you get the housing all taped up, I didn't do the most perfect job because I don't really give a fuck. You're gonna take your... Delina, can you please just let me fucking record, dude? Like, damn, I'm trying to make this video. I only have a little bit of time to do this. Once you get this housing all taped up, you get your clip. All right, now that you got the housing all taped up, just tape up that little red square or whatever, rectangle, whatever you want to call it. Then you get some plastic just to cover the other chrome parts. I didn't cover them the best because I genuinely don't give a fuck. You're gonna take your chrome spray paint and you're just gonna spray this red part. Now this will still be see-through. Delina, I'm going to actually shoot you in the foot if you keep interrupting my videos. All right, now this part will actually be see-through even after you spray it with the chrome, so you don't have to worry about messing anything up. You will need to get yourself some amber like turn signals though, because mine are white and you might get pulled over for that depending on where you live. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and spray this real quick. Just a simple spray. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you don't have to go crazy with it. Probably got some overspray somewhere, but I don't really give a fuck. All right, you're gonna take the red reflector part. I was interrupted when I did this, and also my phone died, so my bad. You're gonna take this and you're gonna prime it. Now you may not need to prime it, but I'm choosing to prime it because I don't want to do this over again, and also I don't want this chrome to not stick to the red. Now you're gonna have to do this on both sides if you want it to look good. And then also when you're spray painting, please don't just hold down on the, just don't go on and start doing this because it will run. You need to move the can back and forth. That's just if you don't know how to spray paint. I mean, it's not too hard. Just kind of lightly tap and go across the entire thing. Just slightly go over it. And like I said, you will have to do this to both sides. Just hitting all these little weird angles as best as I can. And that's it for right now. I'll let this dry and I'll do a coat on the other side, and then we're on to the chrome. This part will take a long time to dry, so I may have to seal or do a video of sealing these later, like tomorrow, because I did mess up my original taillights doing this, trying to rush and get it done quick. This is what the finished product would look like. You see, you got my brake light here, you got the turn signal, and then this is the part that we just painted with primer, and then you're gonna paint it with chrome after, and then there's the other part that you paint with chrome, and you get a completely clear housing. This is what happens when you rush. And I put this back together without this big part being fully dry, so some of that chrome rubbed off in there, but like I said, I don't really give a shit. It looks nice from far away, so that's all that matters. Now for this inner, I don't know how to do these yet, but I will figure out exactly where I need to cut, which it probably won't be too bad. And then it's as simple as just popping out this clear piece. Now if you wanted to, you may be able to make like a clear epoxy version of those reflectors, like those two, and then even possibly this third one, but you need silicone, you need time. That's just another way to do clear tails. I might end up doing that in the future. Didn't get it on camera, but I sprayed the other side with primer, and then I hit this with the chrome. And from far away, it looks good. I mean, up close, I don't know where these little specks of whatever's came from. I don't really care. Far away, it looks really good. Looks nice and silver the way I wanted. So that's all that really matters. Yep, that part is pretty much done. Now we just gotta wait for that to dry, and then we should be able to reseal them really easily with this caulk gun over here. After this part dries up, what you're gonna do is push it back to where it was on the housing, and then those 4 screws that you took off earlier, you're gonna put those back on on the back side, and it'll actually screw this piece into where it is. So I said you have to kind of cut these. You do have to cut these, but just be careful not to mess them up, because if you do, you won't be able to really hold this in place. It's not the biggest thing in the world, though. I mean, you're doing this for, you know what the risks are. You're already cutting your taillights open, so. Now that you got those four screws screwed back in, you're gonna take your lens and make sure it's nice and clean on the inside. Mine has swirl marks because of the outside. That's what you're seeing. I was gonna want to make sure that all these edges are cleaned up. You don't have any like burnt plastic sticking up from the cutting. Well, as much as you can at least. And I'm gonna set your housing like that. Well, the lens like that. You're gonna flip the housing over, and you're gonna line it up and just basically set it where it's supposed to be. And then you'll get your caulk and you'll caulk up the lines. Well, silicone, whatever you want to call it. Now that I have the housing attached to the lens, and look on the inside, this is pretty much 90% of the way done. Now, all you have to do is take your silicone and put a bead going all the way around the cut line. And you'd possibly just take your finger and smudge it in on the inside right there. It doesn't really matter how it looks, as long as it seals it from moisture, and you're good. On the inside, you may be able to see this cut line right here, but you know, from far away, you don't really notice it. Also, the silicone, depending on what color you get, if you get like black or gray, might also hide some of these cut marks if you're able to see them. Especially if you're building like you're doing this for like a show car or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. I'll get back when the silicone is all gooped up. This is in no way, shape, or form meant to serve as like how to use silicone or caulk or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I just put a bead going all the way around it, and then just rub my fingers on it to kind of press it in, especially right here. Right here is like the easiest part to fill in, but all these other parts are kind of suck. But just make sure that you can't see any light going through the silicone. Well, not light, but completely uncovered areas, because those are the areas that will be leaking, and you don't want that.